This is KUGAN CASSIUS for iFL TV in association with Macklin's Gym Marbella. Monday the 16th?
15th?
No.
Okay.
16th of February. The weekend after, a controversial night in Blackpool. First of all credit to Tom Doran, because he was kind of like the one that no one knew about, and he came out and impressed on the night.
Yeah, I think Tom Doran's always been someone who's had a lot of ability, but been out for a long time with injury and came back and no one really knew what to expect from him. So I think his performances were really good. He had a great semi-final with Keeler. It was a great fight, and obviously knocked Render out. Beat Craig Cunningham, and a lot of people fancied would do well in the tournament with a knockdown as well. So no, he did really well. And now listen, he's in a great division, the middleweight scene. Dave Coldwell's now rubbing his hands. He's got a 14-0 kid who's just won Prizefighter on a Saturday night on Sky Sports. So did very well.
Obviously going into the final against Render would have been favourite to have won that.
I'm not so sure. I think Render put so much into the Armfield fight in the other semi, which was a cracking semi-final. He just felt that he might tire. I think it was 1 round apiece. The judges, all 3 judges, had it going into the last round. But the quality work was coming from Don. He was very fit and he was very composed. And Render was brilliant, though. Do you know what I mean? He's just, his laugh is infectious, and he's a real character. And his semi with Armfield was fantastic. And one of the great things about Prizefighter is someone like Cello Render. He won 16 grand plus the 2 grand for the stoppage. Walked away with 18 grand. This is a guy who's probably fighting for 1,500, 2 grand. It makes a big difference to him. And obviously Doran as well, 34 grand. It's a massive night. That's like British European title money. So it's a big shot in the arm for these boys. And I think sometimes people forget that. But Render was, Prizefighter's about characters, and Render was, one of the highlights of the night.
A few years ago, it was always a plus of entering the Prizefighter tournament was that apart from the money and the exposure on Sky, it would sort of potentially lead to some sort of title shot or something. What is the policy with that, or isn't there a policy? Is it just down to discretion of whether
in terms of policy, isn't that there's no eliminator status, but it's about profile. It's about these guys now, particularly someone like Tom Doran. Wow, all of a sudden, great fight for Billy Joe Saunders, for John Ryder, even Matthew Macklin. These kind of guys, throwing himself into the mix in that respect. It's really about what stage they're at. Are they ready for that? Or do they need slowing down? I mean, look at John O'Carroll, great example. A lot of people say, one Prizefighter, should go and fight for the British title. Well, he's only 7-0, 6-0, something like that, 7-0. So just slow down a little bit. The tough thing is bringing them back into like 6 and 8 rounders on normal money after just winning that kind of dough, But obviously that's when they need a good management team. And someone like Doran, who's 14-0 now, is probably 2 or 3 fights away from those big domestic fights. But again, giving himself a great chance.
Obviously it's Dave Caldwell's fighter, but can you see yourself possibly doing anything with Doran in the future?
Yeah, I think again, because I said about the kind of fights, there's some great fights out there for him in the division. And it makes sense for us to continue to progress a lot of these Prizefighter winners on our shows. And obviously we've done it with John O'Carroll, and most likely do something with Tom Doran as well.
There seems to be a couple of contentious decisions in the Prizefighter, notably Mick Hall, Jack Armfield.
Yeah, that was the one. I mean, Prizefighter's difficult to score. You've got to find a 10-9 round somewhere, and it's a difficult one. I mean, I felt in that fight, Mick Hall won the fight. I thought like Hall won the second, Armfield won the third, and the first was close, but I gave it to Hall. So I score it 2-1 to Hall. Doesn't really matter what I think. At the end of the day, judging, it can be disputed, it's subjective, and everyone's got different opinions. For me, I just 30-27 was a score that I just could not see, and that was Ian John Lewis's score. And 29, 1 round either way, maybe, yeah. I felt like Hall won it, but it was a very close round. But 30-27, I don't know where that come from, and it's it's a shame because obviously it's a big opportunity for those guys. But I felt it was a close fight, but I felt Hall won the fight. Some people felt that, I can't remember the fight, I think Render against Doran. Some people felt like Render against Armfield. Some people thought that Armfield won the fight, but I didn't think that. And actually, in the final, all 3 judges had it 1 apiece going into the last round. I actually gave both rounds to Doran. But again, that kind of stuff, it's so close, can go either way. But I just couldn't see how you could see 30-27 in that opening fight.
Is there an alternative to scoring that prize fighter? Or is it a bit late for that now?
Not really. I mean, the problem is it's all action, isn't it? So it's not like a championship round where it might be a little bit cleaner to score. This is a lot of holding, a lot of one bloke's going for it, then other guy might be boxing. Who are you going to favour? Like Render was just relentless. He didn't take a backward step. And actually, even Armfield in that first fight with Hall was boxing off the back foot the whole round, the whole fight, hitting Armfield with the cleaner shots. But Armfield's work rate was excellent, just pushing the fight. So there's arguments either way, but scoring in fights is always going to be like that. It's just magnified in a short 3-round process more than ever,
Where do you see the future of Prizefighter? Because notably, you are doing less of them. You used to put on like 30 a year.
We used to do 6 a year, and now we're doing 3 a year, which works a lot better. It's difficult to say because I like it. The casuals, as we call them, and the hardcore don't really like it. I think most of them still watch it, but the casuals love it. It sells out every venue that it goes to, so we know the demand's there. It's great fun. We appreciate it's not elite championship boxing, but I think it's done a great job for the sport of boxing. We have 1 more year of the Prizefighter contract. We've got about a year and a half left with Sky Prizefighter. We're going to be teaming up, which we'll announce this week with Southland, to do a really interesting Prizefighter in the summer, which we'll announce details of.
UK versus Germany?
Potentially, yeah, which is going to be great. So there's all kinds of different ideas. Lots of markets are coming at the moment. Japan, America, Germany, and saying we'd like to stage a Prizefighter. Does it become a franchise? Do we take the events there ourselves? So it's been very, very successful. That was the 35th Prizefighter or 36th Prizefighter. It's been a real success story, the format. I think we were doing too many towards the end. 6 is too many in a year. So 3 seems to work well. We've done one in February, we'll do another one in June, and then we'll do another one in October, November.
Over the years, obviously, the lighter weight prize fighters have produced the most excitement, but the heavyweight ones, I suppose, for the names and just bringing back sort of the old fights like James Toney when he's come over, etc., etc. But where have you found the perfect weight to have it, or isn't there one?
No, there isn't. I mean, you've got the heavier divisions, and obviously the heavyweights is the one that sells the best and rates the best. For me, as a boxing fan and with a purist hat on, I like the lighter weights. I think it's more action, more punches, better engines generally. I mean, I like even the super bantamweight we had when Willie Casey won. It was one of the best we've had. There's been some great lightweights events, super feathers. But again, the middleweights on Saturday was really good, and I think the worst one we've done was a cruiserweight one, which was terrible.
Was it the one Camacho won?
No, it was one before that. I can't remember who won it. It was years ago. Oh, John Lewis Dickinson won it. Oh, yeah. But it was, he boxed well, but the rest of it was not great at all. But I think in the summer we're looking to do a super middleweights one with England, Germany, like you said. And then we'll probably do a heavyweights one at the end of the year. So
love the heavyweight one. Just because I know you put a random in there that...
I'd love to do one with Kimbo Slice. And maybe we look to do that. But it's it breaks things up, and it's very well received and still very popular. So as it stands.
Okay, moving on to the controversy of the night. Brian Rose, for someone who obviously dominated the first 2 minutes of the round. First of all, before we come to the stoppage, where did it go wrong for Rose in the latter stage of that round?
Well, he got caught. He got caught around the side of the head, was hurt, was buzzed, then held on, then got hit again. Then, actually, it looks like he had a wobble up. He actually looked like, if you look closely, it looks like he went over on his ankle. Definitely hurt. Backed up on the ropes, took a few more. But that moment when his legs crossed over was the moment I think Ian John Lewis had made his mind up the fight was going to be stopped. He went backwards, he took another 3 or 4, nothing flush, nothing to knock the head back. And Ian John Lewis just made a mess of it. You know, I think, just watched it back with you, didn't we? About 2 minutes ago. It was a really bad stoppage. And on the night, I felt it was a bad stoppage. I watched it again, watched it yesterday. And having just watched it in there with you, I don't know, was that the first time you've seen it or not?
No, I watched it this morning. Actually.
Yeah, but actually watching it in there with you, it was a really bad stoppage. Because you look at Brian sort of stand up and go, but he was buzzed, he wasn't hurt. You know, and in a fight of that magnitude where really you're almost fighting for your career, you're certainly fighting for your career at world level, you deserve to be given the opportunity to try and recover. And fighters, you know, it's such a tough one because the referee's in the ring, they're the closest to the action, they've got to make a call. I think one of the problems with Ian John Lewis is how indecisive he is when he makes that move. You know, if he would have come in clean and said, "Stop boxing, sorry," but he jumps in once, then he jumps in again, then he says break, and then he looks at Brian and he stops. And everyone's going, what's he doing? Has he stopped it? And he says, "I'm sorry." He's done it. I mean, remember Enzo Mack against, was it Oval? I can't remember, the Olympia. I think it might, anyway, whenever it was. And he was getting teed off against on the ropes. And then he just jumped in. And Enzo Mack just went, "Hey?" And then he sort of went, "Oh, sorry." But I like Ian John Lewis. I actually think he's a decent ref. He's got a hugely experienced ref and judged all over the world, but he has got a habit of doing that. And when I watched it back, it was a poor stoppage. 100% he was hurt. And listen, 20 seconds more, he may have been knocked out or knocked down or hurt even badly with a right to stop it. But it was definitely stopped too early.
I mean, situations like that, how beneficial would it be to have a standing 8 count in that? I know you can't, but
I don't like standing 8 counts because I think they just break the action.
But for something like that,
yeah, but it's all. I mean, it's hindsight. So that would be perfect. I mean, the Groves Frotch, another example, standing 8 count. But when you've got someone hurt, it's not really fair on the other boxer, is it? "Oh, I've got him hurt. Oh, stop boxing. 1. And it's like, okay. I mean, it's not great for the fans, in my opinion. It's not great for the fighter who's on top. You know, and then what? You go again. Well, he might have recovered. You've got your opponent on the ropes. You've got your opportunity to finish the fight, and then the ref jumps in and says, "No, 8 count." I don't like standing 8 counts. There's other rules in different territories where standing 8 count can be employed if a fighter is being held up by the ropes, for example, but not like in the Brian Rose situation. An 8 count would have just been weird. And it's difficult. People say he should have taken a knee. When you're getting, you know, clipped around the ring and your head's all over the place and you're trying to recover, it's quite difficult to think logically and say, "Hang on a minute, let me just take a knee here." You know, he's trying to ride the punches. And obviously he didn't feel like he was that hurt. Otherwise he would have gone down. But standing 8 counts in certain situations are, you know, okay. But I think it breaks the action.
What countries do they allow that in?
We've got different territories. The IBF, for example, will allow a standing 8 count under certain. Lucenbute, for example, that famous moment when I jumped in the ring like a bellend, where actually the ref crossed his hands and said, "It's all over," and then decided to give him an 8 count because he was being held up by the ropes.
Yeah.
So the British Boxing Board of Control, there is no 8 count, standing 8 count. So I'm not an advocate of the standing 8 count. I can understand certain instances where it would be beneficial to have one, but on a whole, I just think it will stop the action.
What was the worst stoppage, Frotch Groves or? What happened in Blackpool?
Probably quite similar in there. I mean, one was obviously 9 rounds in to a tough fight. I had an argument with someone. I was really having some. Did you see me on Twitter last night? Me and my old man. It was hilarious.
Some of it.
My old man was just going off on one. He's so, he's just so brutal in his explanation of things sometimes because he's 60 odd. He don't give a monkeys. He just says it how it is. And this one bloke comes on and says, "What was the difference between that stoppage and the Carl Froch, George Groves?" I said, "Not a lot." I said, "The only thing is that one was after 9 rounds of a tough fight, and the other one was literally Brian Rose took 6 or 7 punches in the entire fight, because obviously it was in round 1. And he said, "Well, George Groves didn't take any punishment in that fight." I said, "Well, look at his face the next day. It was a tough, gruelling fight. Doesn't take it away. George Groves was stopped too early in that fight. I believe he would have been stopped. And Brian Rose might well have been stopped as well, legitimately. But you had to give them both the chance to see if that was the case or not." So...
Should the magnitude of the fight, as in, obviously, Froch Groves world title fight, Jones Rose should that have anything to do with it, or not? Really, shouldn't, should it? Surely not.
Probably subconsciously to the referee. I mean, obviously, with what's on the line in a fight, the argument is, look, there's a world title on the line. You've got to give this kid a chance.
If the referee genuinely thinks that it should be
of course,
stopped,
he can't turn around and say, "Well, this is only a 4-round fight." Or this is a championship fight. I know you're taking a lot of punishment here, which could be harmful for you, but I'll let it go on because there's a world title on the line. Yeah. But that's what I'm saying subconsciously, because I think a ref shouldn't think like that. But I think subconsciously as well, this is a huge fight. I can't afford to stop this fight too early. But when we went to the Khan fight, do you remember the undercard fights we were watching, and we were going, how do these refs?
Was it Morris?
Yeah, and the other kid as well. Can't remember. But we were like, if this was in the UK, this fight would have been stopped 4 rounds ago. And I think it's tough, isn't it? Because it's the fighter's health, but Dave Colwell actually sent a really good tweet earlier, and he says, sorry to just cut the action here. He said, "If all fights were stopped soon as a fighter wobbles but doesn't go down, we'd have never had most of the great fights in boxing history." So, and actually, as it happens, I think Brian Rose against Carson Jones would have been a really, really good fight. And I've stuck the dough up for those purses, by the way. So I actually wanted to see a great fight. And it's a shame that we didn't get the opportunity to see it, because what we saw was Carson Jones can hurt Brian Rose. And we also saw Brian Rose boxing really well and hurt Carson Jones as well. So I'd have liked to have seen that fight play out.
Okay, so stepping aside from the fact that it was controversial, where does this leave Brian Rose's career?
Well, I think, having spoken to him yesterday, I think it's almost like, obviously it's a kick in the nuts, but everyone saw what happened. Most people felt like it was stopped too early. I don't think there's any argument that he was hurt in that fight. None at all. So I think we have to move forward almost like that fight didn't happen, and we've got to go back to exactly the same level, because I don't think there's a future for Brian Rose at domestic level. It's not what he's about, but he can't be operating at world level because he hasn't had that fight to prove himself. So listen, Carson Jones, I had 2 or 3 fights lined up for Brian Rose that would have been just wonderful for him. We were talking to Sauerland about the Jack Colcar European title fight. Could have made that easily. Even Heyman's boys come on, Lara, and like these massive fights, which are huge asks. But again, financially, big for Brian. And now Carson Jones is chasing those fights. Obviously not Colcar, but they've already been in contact with him. Oh, Brian, and someone will probably use Carson Jones for a big world title fight at light middleweight. So good luck to him as well, by the way. And I feel a bit sorry for him because he's not done anything wrong. It's quite funny. There's a Carson Jones one on Twitter. It's actually not Carson Jones. And someone's tweeted saying, at Carson Jones, great performance last night. And this guy on Twitter has just carried it on for about 24 hours, and he's going, I'm sick and tired of getting no respect for my win and stuff like this. And it's just some obviously called Carson Jones that's not him. People were chatting with him last night saying, you really deserve this, Carson. He's going, thanks.
There is a Twitter, is that?
There is, but it's not. It's a different spelling. Right. So for Brian, love to make the rematch. We'll try. I think Carson will probably go on and move on to a big fight. Again, maybe get a win and go for Kolkai. The Liam Smith fight is still a fight that I think appeals. But it's a kick in the nuts, no doubt about that. But what can you do? You brush yourself down, you go again. There's no point moping around, and feeling sorry for yourself. You made a mistake, you got hurt, you were stopped too early, but it's done, it's finished. You can't wind the clock back. So I think that, ultimately, you've got to just dust yourself down and go again. It's all you can do in boxing, it's all you can do in sport and life. You got a bad decision, wasn't the worst decision I've ever seen. It was unfortunate, I don't think he deserved it, but it's done. So, regroup. He wasn't hurt, he's, he was fine, he was on his feet. He won't even feel like he's been in a fight. So, he could resume camp ASAP, really.
Okay. Wins also on the night for Scott Cardle and Marcus Morrison. Good win for Cardle? Yeah,
Cardle's just gone in there for a 4-rounder to tick over, waiting on Terry Flanagan, and obviously that's frustrating. And knocked the guy out clean in in the first round, sorry. Just starting to develop a little bit more power now. I think really confident. Although that fight was billed as a final eliminator or whatever it was for Flanagan, Ormond, Diaz will fight Takiaro Ao for most likely the vacant world title. We're talking about that fight happening on May the 1st or May the 9th. So Terry may get the winner. We'd like Crawler to get the winner. But I think if Flanagan's going to get a shot, it's going to be June, July, September, October. So he's got a bit of waiting to do. And they've got to make the Cardle fight by March the 31st or he'll be stripped of his title. I don't think it's Terry Flanagan waiting around. I just think, why don't you just relinquish your title? You've got the date there, which you can't really make. So let's free it up and let Cardle fight for it. But I think Terry, because he's going to have to wait a while, will probably be up for fighting Scotty Cardle ASAP. But it's just a case of turning the dates around. So I think the board will be on to Frank Warren Promotions or what they're called now, and make sure that happens before March 31st. So I don't believe it will, and I think Cardle will be in for a vacant title.
Start of the week, obviously a huge week. 2 potential world champions this weekend. Who's got the harder fight?
Oh, Murray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's got the harder fight? Murray. But I think the right question is who's got more chance of winning.
Yeah, that's what probably.
And that answers your other question for you.
Yeah.
I think Paul Smith has got a much better chance of winning the fight. Listen, I hope Martin Murray pulls it off. I just think it's going to be the style and everything. It's perfect for Golovkin.
Would you say Murray's the best opponent Golovkin would have faced?
Probably, yeah. Actually, when you look at it, and by the way, this is no fault of Golovkin because I believe he'll fight anyone. Is his resume is not that great. Some people say, "Oh, what are you talking about?" Let's look at it. Marco Antonio Rubio, with all due respect, is finished at world level. Daniel Gill, decent world champ, but I think Gill was probably the best opponent he'd faced outside of the others. Curtis Stevens, banger, but no great resume. The Japanese fella in Monte Carlo wasn't great at all.
Deborah Rosado.
Rosado, but Rosado can fight, but they're not.
Yeah. Elite
no, and I'm not sure, with all due respect to Martin. We talk about elite. Are you talking about the top 2 or 3 in the division? And Martin's up there, but so I think in that respect, sort of the likes of, I mean, I think if Murray fought Gill, it's a fairly close fight. I think Murray beats him. But I think this is probably the sternest test for Golovkin. But I just think the style is just going to suit him down to the ground. And it's a tough ass. I think Martin Murray, he's really grafted throughout his career. He's had it really tough. He's gone to Germany, where he fought Sturm. I felt that Macklin beat Sturm, but I thought a draw or Sturm could have won the Murray fight. He beat Martinez, in my opinion, Murray, and now he's got to fight Golovkin. So, you know, it's a big opportunity for him, and I hope he does the business, but I just can't see how he can. In terms of Paul Smith, I think there you've got a situation where he's already fought the guy. It was a very close fight. I mean, even if you thought Abraham won 2 rounds, maybe. Some thought Paul Smith won, a lot thought it was a draw. So you've got to give him a great shot. I think this time the difference is in the mentality. Last time it was like, I'm going in a level, you know, beyond where I've been before. Can I do this? Now you go in going, yeah, I can. I've already done it. I know I didn't win or get the decision, but it was a close fight, and I've improved. Mentally, I'm stronger. You know, if it goes 12, is he going to get the nod? Well, we've got Paco Balcazar, the WBO president, coming over. He's selected 2 very experienced judges and another one from Puerto Rico. You've got to think that Paco's brought some of his top judges over for this event. The pressure's going to be on Arthur Abraham. We're going to put as much emphasis as possible on the fact that we want a fair crack at the whip here. Forget the crowd, forget his champion. This is 2 fighters on a blank canvas. I think it'll be a different type of fight. I think they'll both be more aggressive. I don't think it'll go the distance. I think you're going to see a shootout over 7 or 8 rounds, and neither of them are going to want it to leave it to the judges. It's going to be a great fight. The atmosphere is going to be unbelievable. I spoke to Callie yesterday, saying it's virtually sold out from their end. You've got Paul Smith's done nearly 1,000, Warrington's done like 500. I'm sure David Price has bought some as well. The weigh-in's at 4 o'clock in the Berlin Mall, and when I get there on Wednesday, I'm going to try and find a nice bar or pub that we can arrange a party at 2 o'clock on a Friday. Get all the English fans in, have a few beers, and all travel together to the weigh-in. Let's go and make some noise, let's go and have some fun. Brits on tour, it's nothing like it. There's nothing like an away win. And I would love it if he won, love it. No, I would, that would be great. And he could do it, he could do it.
Alright, well, I will see you in Berlin.
When are you going Wednesday?
Flight's earlier than
And you're staying out all week?
I'll be there till Sunday.
Are you allowed?
Smith. Anything else to...
No, there was some talk last night, just to explain. So, Limond against Jenkins, which was originally, although I never told anyone when it was happening, the date we gave the board, which was obviously ended up on BoxRec, was Limond against Jenkins for March 28th. That's now switched to Leeds on April the 11th. Nathan Cleverly will now box in London on April 25th. So that fight will replace the Cleverly fight in Leeds, his comeback fight.
The reason for that?
Basically, Cardiff are playing Leeds the same day at Ellen Road.
Right. So
we sat down with the police and they said, look, obviously we're a bit concerned about this. There's a football game in the afternoon. We don't know what's going to happen at the football game, etc., etc. We'd rather this wasn't the case. However, if it is, these are the measures we'd like to put in. The whole thing was a mess, and you know, some people saying, I was like, oh, but I think they had a point. But again, you know,
Cardiff are playing Leeds in
Leeds that day.
Nathan's from Cardiff. So, what do they think's going to happen?
Well, no, the concern is that obviously there'll be a lot of Cardiff support at Leeds. You don't know what's going to happen in the day. Right. The Leeds fans are obviously quite loud.
Fans, not Cleverly.
No, nothing to do with Cleverly. No. Right. Listen, I think they've got a point, but what they were asking us to put in place was just, it was too extensive, and you know, the atmosphere in that venue that Josh creates is amazing. And I wouldn't say it was hostile, but it's, it's shirt off time and shirts in the air, and I don't want to do anything that can stop that from happening. So I spoke to Nathan, and he's more than happy to go an extra 2 weeks. He just starts camp this week, so he'll be at the O2, and we'll replace his fight, which was a scheduled 10 rounder, with a British light welterweight championship fight between Limond and Jenkins.
It's a good fight.
Good fight. There's something else I was going to say as well. Birmingham tickets will go on sale. We'll make an announcement on Wednesday morning about the deal. Fight Pass, Birmingham, Wednesday. General sale Thursday. And with the pre-sales for that are through the roof. It's going to be huge.
How much does that hold?
I think we'll get about 7,000 or 8,000 in there. I think we'll sell it out. Newcastle, we're nearly at 7,000 already for Newcastle. So, and Leeds, I think we've done 8,000 for Leeds nearly, and we've still got 8 weeks to go. So what we're seeing is that ticket sales for boxing right now is just going like that. Every event we do is virtually either sold out or huge high capacity of seats taken.
What will you open the O2 for?
The full lot, 19,000.
Confident of that?
Yeah, I am, yeah. I mean, if you think January the 31st, if Joshua was on the bill, we would have done 10 or 11,000. If we get our way with the negotiations, we'll have 2 proper, genuine 50-50 world title fights, anti-Joshua against Kevin Johnson, plus loads of other title fights as well. I think we'll do the lot.
Okay. All right. Well, on to Germany, and then
can't wait.
Wednesday, and then we're going home.
Going home back Wednesday. Got some meetings on Thursday, and then back out Friday morning.
Right. Left into the hospitality of the Southlands.
We've got some nice announcements for Southland this week out in Germany, but we are working on something. Well, it's done, but just getting the format right, the announcement right. That is going to be a huge shot in the arm for grassroots boxing in the UK. There's going to be significant investment coming into local clubs for our new foundation. I'm so excited about it.
And when do you make an announcement on this?
Just getting the model right, how it's going to work. I'll be interested to hear people's views actually. So we've got a pot of money that's invested from us and other corporate sponsors, and we want to distribute that to the clubs around the country. So do we distribute that? This is what we're going through at the moment, because we're thinking we should be investing in the cities that we're in, but then does that limit opportunities for clubs in, I don't know, the south of England, or where we're not doing an event at the moment? But we can't help everybody. We've got significant investment, but it can't be spread to every club in the country. So the plan is to, first we looked at a financial injection into the clubs. Now we're looking at having some kind of actual application that the clubs will make, asking for stuff they need. So Brentwood Boxing Club might say, our bags are finished, we need 6 new punch bags. Another club might have a problem with the door, or they need a new floor, and we come in and our fighters will go there and sit down with the fighters and the kids in the club, give them a talk, and also present them with whatever we're giving them. So we're just trying to get our head around how this is going to work. We've got some interesting ambassadors coming on board as well. But I just think it's going to be great for the profile of sport, great for the local clubs who really struggle, and I think we can make a difference. And just great for boxing as a whole, that we can start this foundation now to inject funding into grassroots and amateur clubs, and eventually over the next 6, 7, 10 years I'd like to create centres of excellence around the country and around cities that we go to for boxing. You've seen obviously, the GB set up in Sheffield. The Institute of Sport is phenomenal for so many different sports, but the boxing gym there is so good, and I just feel like if we had those centres, 5 or 6 of them around the country, that boxing and the development of boxing would change considerably for the stars of tomorrow. And I think hopefully this foundation with the ambassadors we're going to get on board will show the support of that and show how important these clubs are to the community, and hopefully get the investment from the government as well to start bringing boxing funding and increasing boxing funding to improve the quality of the kids coming in sport. And it's not just about, you know, making sure that the kids are better fighters to come into pro ranks, but it's about the jobs that amateur clubs do for the community and for society. And I'm a massive advocate that they play a huge role in developing the lives, attitudes, respect of young kids. And I think it's so important to have boxing clubs in the community, and I think the job they do in teaching discipline and respect is second to none. So I want to try and support them, and now we've got a big chunk of money where we can actually do that.
That sounds interesting. Alright, keep us updated.
One of the ambassadors is you, by the way.
No problem.
Be up for that, yeah?
100%.
Okay, right.
Right, this card's running out. Just quickly before we end, tomorrow night, Lee Purdy.
Yes. So Lee Purdy's retiring from the sport of boxing, and tomorrow night got a big benefit evening for him. The Prince Regent Hotel is about 250 people coming down from the boxing world. Obviously, aim is to raise funds for Lee now that his career's over. So a great warrior of sport and a big night tomorrow.
Alright, Eddie Hearn, thanks for talking to IFL TV. Card's just about to run out. Thanks for watching.